Ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason some people keep creating wealth while others stay stuck. It's not luck. It's not because they're smarter or because the universe favors them. It's because they think differently. See, poor and middle class people think in terms of money. Rich people think in terms of value. Money is the fruit. Value is the seed. If you want more fruit, you don't beg for more apples. You plant more seeds. Rich people focus on creating value, not just earning money. This is one of the greatest differences between those who accumulate wealth and those who struggle financially. Most people are taught from a young age to get a good education, find a stable job, and work hard for a paycheck. They measure their success by how much money they earn per hour, per week, or per month. They are conditioned to believe that the key to financial security is tied directly to how many hours they work or how much their employer is willing to pay them. But this way of thinking creates a ceiling on income because there are only so many hours in a day and only so much an employer is willing to pay. Wealthy individuals see the world through a completely different lens. Instead of asking, how can I make more money? They ask, how can I create more value? They understand that money is not the goal. It is the byproduct of solving problems, meeting needs, and serving people at scale. When you create value in the marketplace, money flows to you as a natural result. Rich people know that if they can provide something that improves lives, saves time, increases profits, or delivers joy, then people will gladly exchange their money for it. For example, think about entrepreneurs who build companies that solve massive problems. They do not get paid based on the hours they work. They get paid based on how effectively they can serve a need. If someone invents a product that millions of people want, they can generate wealth that would take the average person several lifetimes to earn. Why? Because they focused on value creation, not just income generation. This mindset shift is critical. Middle class and poor people often think about money as a finite resource. They believe that for one person to gain, another must lose. This creates a scarcity mindset where they fear losing what little they have and hesitate to take risks or pursue opportunities. Rich people think of value as something that can be created endlessly. They understand that wealth is not about taking from others, but about contributing more to the marketplace. The more they contribute, the more wealth flows back to them. Employees often focus on doing the minimum required to justify their paycheck. They think, I worked 40 hours. I deserve this amount. Wealthy people flip that equation. They ask, what can I do to make my work worth 10 times or 100 times what I'm being paid? Even if they start as employees, they think like owners. They look for ways to increase efficiency, reduce waste, create new products, or serve customers better. Over time, this focus on value creation positions them to rise above the limitations of hourly wages and salaries. Another key difference is that rich people scale value. They know that serving one person at a time will not create significant wealth, so they look for ways to serve many people simultaneously. This could be through businesses, digital products, investments, or systems that operate without their direct involvement. They ask, how can I help 1,000 people? How can I help 1,000,000 people? This scaling of value allows them to multiply their income exponentially rather than incrementally. At its core, this way of thinking is about ownership. Wealthy people own their outcomes because they own the value they create. They are not dependent on a boss, a company, or an economy to hand them a paycheck. They build their own engines of wealth by focusing relentlessly on contribution. When you look at people who have built lasting fortunes, whether in technology, real estate, entertainment, or any other industry, the common thread is not how many hours they worked. It is how much value they created and how effectively they delivered it to the marketplace. This is why rich people read books, attend seminars, and invest in personal development. They are constantly asking themselves, how can I improve? How can I innovate? How can I create something that didn't exist before? They understand that value creation starts with their own mindset and skills. The more they grow, the more value they can offer, and the more money they attract as a result. Rich people see money as a tool, not as a goal. This is one of the defining differences in how they approach wealth compared to most people. For the majority, money itself becomes the destination. They think if they could just earn a certain amount, save a little more, or win the lottery, all their problems would disappear. Money becomes something they chase endlessly, but because they treat it like the finish line, they often never reach a place of true financial freedom. Wealthy individuals understand that money is not the ultimate prize. It is simply a means to an end, a resource to be directed, multiplied, and leveraged. They see it as a servant, not as a master. When you think of money as a tool, you stop hoarding it in fear and start putting it to work in ways that create more of it. You don't bury it in a savings account hoping it grows. You deploy it strategically into assets, businesses, investments, and systems that can generate more income and create greater opportunities. Most people are taught to trade their time for money and then to save what's left over. They are conditioned to believe that saving is the safest path to wealth. But in reality, saving alone rarely creates wealth because money loses value over time due to inflation. Rich people think differently. They understand that money sitting idle is money being wasted. They view every dollar as an employee that should be working for them around the clock, generating more dollars, rather than asking, how can I save more? They ask, How can I make my money produce more? This mindset shift changes everything about how they interact with money. Poor and middle class people often fear losing money. They cling tightly to it, avoiding risks, and in doing so, they miss opportunities to grow their wealth. Wealthy people are not reckless, but they are willing to take calculated risks because they see money as renewable. They know if they lose money on an investment, they can make more because they trust their ability to create value and direct resources effectively. When most people get paid, their first instinct is to spend. They buy things to impress others or to soothe their own insecurities. They view money as a reward for hard work, and once they spend it, it's gone. Rich people do the opposite. They allocate money into tools that can increase their earning potential. They buy education, mentorship, systems, and assets that will pay them back many times over. For them, money is not for consumption, it is for multiplication. Wealthy individuals also understand the power of leverage. They know that money can buy access to time, expertise, and networks they don't currently have. If they don't know how to do something, they don't waste years figuring it out on their own. They use money to hire experts, to automate processes, or to partner with people who can accelerate results. This way, money becomes a force multiplier that amplifies their efforts and reduces their reliance on personal labor. The average person works for money. The wealthy make money work for them. This is why they don't panic when unexpected expenses arise or when the economy shifts. They have built systems that continue to produce income regardless of circumstances. They have learned to detach emotionally from money so they can make clear, rational decisions instead of being driven by fear or greed. By treating money as a tool, rich people are free from the desperation that traps so many others. They don't worship money or attach their self-worth to it. Instead, they see it as a resource to be used wisely to build businesses, fund investments, support causes they care about, and create generational wealth that outlives them. Wealthy people invest in assets, not liabilities. This distinction is one of the most critical differences between how rich and poor people handle money. Most people spend their lives working for money and then using that money to buy things they think will make them happy or look successful. They purchase expensive cars, designer clothes, and bigger homes, believing these things are signs of wealth. In reality, these are often liabilities that take money out of their pockets instead of putting money in. Wealthy individuals understand this and operate from a completely different mindset. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, whether you work for it or not. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket, no matter how attractive or prestigious it may seem. The poor and middle class are often caught in a cycle of accumulating liabilities they mistakenly believe are assets. They buy a larger house and call it an investment, but every month they pay a mortgage, taxes, maintenance, and other costs. They buy a luxury car and celebrate the purchase, yet it depreciates in value the moment they drive it off the lot while they continue to pay insurance, fuel, and repairs. These things don't generate income, they drain it. Rich people think differently. They ask before every purchase, will this make me money? Will this grow in value? Can this pay me even when I'm not working? If the answer is no, they are cautious about buying it. Instead, they focus on acquiring assets like rental properties, dividend-paying stocks businesses, intellectual property, and other investments that generate cash flow and appreciate over time. They understand that the goal is not to work harder for money, but to own things that make money work harder for them. For example, when a wealthy person considers real estate, they don't buy the biggest house they can afford to live in. They look for properties that they can rent out, properties that produce income every month. They know that even if they borrow money to buy the property, the rent paid by tenants will cover the expenses and still leave them with profit. Over time, the property increases in value and the wealth grows. Poor and middle class individuals often miss this opportunity because they are focused on buying a dream home for themselves instead of buying income generating properties first. Business ownership is another area where the wealthy excel. Instead of working for someone else their entire lives, they invest time and money into creating or acquiring businesses. A business is an asset that can produce income long after the owner stops working actively in it. Even if they start small, they think about scalability, automation, and delegation so the business does not depend on their daily labor. This is a key reason why wealthy people can enjoy financial freedom while others are trapped in the cycle of exchanging time for money. The middle class is often trapped by consumerism. As they earn more money, they increase their lifestyle. They buy more expensive clothes, gadgets, vacations, and vehicles. These things may bring short-term pleasure, but no long-term wealth. Wealthy people resist this trap. They may delay gratification, choosing to live below their means temporarily so they can funnel more money into assets. Later, the income from these assets pays for their lifestyle without depleting their wealth. Wealthy individuals also understand the importance of reinvesting profits. When they earn income from an asset, they don't rush out to spend it. They reinvest it into more income, generating assets, creating a snowball effect. Over time, their assets generate more income, which buys more assets, leading to exponential growth in wealth. Poor and middle class people often do the opposite. When they earn extra money, They spend it on liabilities that keep them in a paycheck to paycheck cycle. This way of thinking requires discipline and financial education. Rich people spend time learning about investments, markets, and opportunities. They develop the ability to distinguish between what looks like an asset and what truly is one. They avoid emotional decisions about money and base their choices on whether something will produce cash flow and grow in value. Wealthy people prioritize mindset over skill set. This is one of the most overlooked truths about success and wealth creation. Most people are taught to believe that skills alone will make them rich. They go to school, earn degrees, and focus on mastering technical abilities in the hope that these will lead to high-paying jobs or business success. While skills are important, they are not the foundation of wealth. The foundation is mindset. Without the right way of thinking, even the most talented and skilled individuals can remain stuck in financial struggle. The mindset of wealthy people is centered on growth, possibility, and responsibility. They understand that their thoughts shape their actions and their actions shape their outcomes. If they want to achieve a higher level of wealth, they first work on elevating their thinking. They believe wealth is created, not inherited or stumbled upon by luck. They know opportunities are abundant, and they focus their energy on finding or creating those opportunities rather than waiting for someone else to hand them success. In contrast, many people with impressive skill sets remain trapped because they carry limiting beliefs about money, success, and their own potential. They believe wealth is only for certain people, that you have to exploit others to become rich, or that financial success requires sacrificing happiness and family. These beliefs act like invisible walls, keeping them in the same place no matter how hard they work. Rich people deliberately tear down these mental barriers. They reprogram their minds to expect success, to embrace abundance, and to see failure not as defeat, but as feedback. One key aspect of the wealthy mindset is the willingness to take ownership. They do not blame the government, the economy, their upbringing, or bad luck for their situation. Even if external factors have created challenges, they take responsibility for creating solutions. They see themselves as creators, not victims. This sense of agency allows them to take bold actions and make decisions that lead to wealth creation. Poor and middle-class individuals often outsource their financial lives to employers, governments, or circumstances. They wait for raises, tax breaks, or handouts instead of asking how they can take control and build something for themselves. Another difference is how wealthy people think about failure. Most people fear failure so much that they never take risks. They would rather stay in their comfort zone doing what feels safe, even if it keeps them stuck financially. Wealthy individuals see failure as an essential part of growth. They expect mistakes along the way and view them as lessons to refine their strategies. This resilience allows them to persevere where others give up. They understand that the path to success is rarely straight or easy, but it is always possible for those who keep moving forward. Rich people also cultivate a mindset of continuous learning. They know that what got them to one level will not get them to the next. They invest time, energy, and money into books, mentorship courses, and masterminds because they believe personal growth is the ultimate asset. Middle-class people often stop learning after formal education ends. They assume the degree they earned in their 20s is enough to carry them through life. Wealthy people know that the world is changing constantly and staying stagnant is not an option. The mindset of wealthy individuals includes an abundance mentality. They believe there is more than enough success, money, and opportunity for everyone. This belief allows them to collaborate, share ideas, and build networks instead of seeing others as competition. In contrast, those with a scarcity mindset believe wealth is a zero-sum game where someone else's gain means their loss. This leads to jealousy, fear, and a reluctance to take bold actions. Wealthy people free themselves from this trap and operate from a place of confidence and generosity. Rich people leverage systems to multiply their time and income. This is one of the most powerful principles that separate those who build lasting wealth from those who remain stuck working harder for limited results. Most people grow up believing that the only way to earn more money is to work more hours or to work harder in their current role. They are trapped in the idea of exchanging time for money, and because time is finite, their earning potential remains capped no matter how skilled or dedicated they are. Wealthy individuals break free from this trap by understanding the power of systems and leverage. A system is anything that allows you to produce results without requiring your constant effort. It can be a business process, a team of employees, an automated piece of technology, or even a financial investment. Wealthy people focus on building and acquiring systems that generate cash flow around the clock. They know that if they grow to their wealth exponentially instead of linearly, they must separate their income from their personal labor. While others are working in their business or job, the wealthy are working on their business or portfolio to ensure it functions without their constant presence. For example, an employee can only work a set number of hours each week. Even if they negotiate a higher hourly rate or salary, there is still a ceiling to how much they can earn. A wealthy entrepreneur, on the other hand, builds a system in the form of a business that employs dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of people. Each employee contributes value to the organization, and the owner earns income from the collective efforts of the team. This is leverage in action. Technology provides another form of leverage that rich people use masterfully. They invest in automation tools, software, platforms, and online systems that allow their products or services to reach thousands or millions of people with minimal direct involvement. A digital product, for example, can be created once and sold repeatedly without requiring the creator to trade additional time for each sale. Wealthy individuals recognize the scalability of such systems and prioritize building them or pursuing activities that only provide one-time paychecks. Investments also serve as systems for the wealthy. When they purchase income-producing assets like real estate, stocks, or businesses, these assets generate cash flow month after month. A rental property can produce income while the owner sleeps. A stock portfolio can pay dividends without requiring the investor to show up for work. Poor and middle-class individuals often overlook these opportunities because they are focused on earning and spending rather than earning and investing. Delegation is another way rich people multiply their results. They understand their time is the most valuable resource they have, so they avoid wasting it on tasks that someone else can do. They hire skilled individuals to manage operations, handle administrative work, and execute technical tasks. This frees them to focus on high-level strategy, creative thinking, and exploring new opportunities that can further grow their wealth. In contrast, many people insist on doing everything themselves in an effort to save money, but this approach keeps them stuck in low-value activities and prevents them from scaling their income. Our wealth people are intentional about designing their lives around systems instead of tasks. They seek to create businesses, investments, and networks that function like well-oiled machines. Each see the system they build increases their capacity to generate income without requiring more hours in the day. Over time, these systems compound, allowing them to achieve financial freedom while others remain tied to their jobs or businesses. Rich people ask, how can I, instead of saying, I can't afford it. This simple shift in language reflects a profound difference in mindset that determines whether someone remains stuck in financial limitations or breaks through to abundance. Most people are conditioned to shut down possibilities the moment they encounter an obstacle. When faced with a desire or opportunity that feels out of reach, their default response is to declare, I can't afford it, or that's impossible for me. This statement closes their mind, blocks creative thinking, and reinforces a scarcity mindset that keeps them trapped in the same financial patterns year after year. Wealthy individuals, on the other hand, train themselves to ask empowering questions. They approach challenges by asking, how can I afford it? How can I make this possible? What can I do to create the resources needed? This subtle difference opens their minds to solutions and activates their problem-solving abilities. When a person says, I can't afford it, they make a final decision that ends all further thought. It's like slamming a door shut and throwing away the key. There is no effort to explore options, no attempt to see things from a different angle. No search for opportunities that might make the goal achievable. Rich people understand that their words shape their reality. By asking, how can I? They keep the door open to creativity, resourcefulness, and innovation. They believe that even if they don't have the answer yet, there is always a way to find it. This belief allows them to approach financial challenges with curiosity and confidence instead of fear and resignation. Wealthy people use this question to train their minds to think in terms of possibilities rather than limitations. For example, if they see a property, business opportunity, or educational program that could change their financial future, but costs more than they currently have, they don't dismiss it outright. Instead, they ask, how can I generate the money to invest in this? Who could I partner with? What skills could I leverage to create the needed resources? This line of thinking often leads them to discover creative financing, joint ventures, side hustles, or strategies they never would have considered if they had simply accepted their current financial position as permanent. This mindset extends beyond money. When rich people face time constraints, lack of knowledge, or limited connections, they apply the same question. How can I create more time? How can I learn this faster? How can I connect with the right people? Each question invites their brain to search for solutions, and in doing so, they often find opportunities that others overlook. The middle class and poor often condition themselves to focus on their limitations. They look at their paycheck, their bills, and their debts, and they believe these numbers define their future. They don't realize that their income is a reflection of past choices and thinking, not a ceiling for what is possible. Wealthy people refuse to let their current circumstances determine their future possibilities. By asking better questions, they create better results. This habit of asking, how can I, also fosters resilience. Instead of being discouraged by setbacks, rich people see challenges as invitations to grow. They understand that every great achievement requires solving problems. The bigger the goal, the bigger the challenges, and the more valuable the solutions. While others give up at the first sign of difficulty, wealthy individuals keep searching for ways to make their vision a reality. This difference in thinking is why two people with the same education, background, and opportunities can end up in completely different financial situations. One person says, I can't, and stops moving forward. The other says, how can I, and keeps taking action until they find the answer. Over time, this mindset compounds, creating a life of wealth, freedom, and opportunity for those willing to think differently.